Camera's not in the right position. Oh. Okay, are you on?
Oh, yeah.
Ouch. Okay, too close here. Okay. We are live, but I don't think there's anybody here. Except you and I.
There's 4 people according
Oh.
to the thing.
My thing never keeps up with that. Mine says 2 on here. I don't get it. Anyways, hello whoever is here. And say hello. Have you not figured it out yet?
Yeah, I got it. It's just that it comes up with this stupid message about get YouTube Premium
Oh.
all the time.
Oh, Julie's here. Hi, Julie. And we'll just give a few seconds here to see if there's others that will be kicking in. Oh, Virginia's here. Hi, Virginia. And Pracy's here. Hi, Pracy. And, well, while we wait for a few other people to join us, we'll indulge. What are we drinking today? Something very peachy. Peachy keen. What's in it?
It's frozen peaches and fresh peaches, and because we still had 2 fresh peaches,
Oh, did we?
and then some peach snaps and some vodka, and a little bit of what's that syrup? That agave
Oh,
syrup.
agave syrup. And of course, we're having pita and hummus. And Tracy says she's roasting 3 pounds of salmon. Yuck. I don't like fish, sorry. I'm sure it's delicious for those people who love salmon. Oh, Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy. So, Tracy, where'd you get the salmon from? Just from the grocery store, or did you catch it yourself? Oh, Chris is here. Hi, Chris. So, we're stuffing our faces here for a minute. All right. So let's get into general information. Well, if you saw my vlog on Monday, you've already heard this story, so I'm not going to get into the detail that I went into on the vlog. But it has to. Oh, she got it at Aldi.
We don't have Aldi's here.
No, we don't have Aldi's here. So anyways, my mother's birthday party was supposed to be last Sunday, right? Remember? That's why we went on Saturday. So we got over to the nursing home, and we got things all set up.
She had Swiss chalet dipping sauce yesterday.
Oh, geez, you're just getting stuff from all over the world, aren't you, Tracy? Anyways, so we got the room all set up. We got it all decorated, ready to go. My sister got this, I don't know, I think she was thinking she was feeding 50, not 6.
Yeah,
It was a huge
cake.
slab cake. But I think her idea in her head, too, was to leave the leftovers there so the nursing staff and staff in general could share it amongst themselves and things like that, which I'm sure would have been okay. So I went up to get her. And I went up to her room, and I thought, well, first of all, I better stop at the nurse's station I figured they knew what was going on, but just to make sure so they didn't think they'd go looking for my mother at dinner time and she had disappeared, like she escaped or something. But when I got up to my mother's floor, I just popped my head into her room real quickly because it was on my way to the nurse's station, and her wheelchair is empty, and I'm thinking, what's wrong? So I went into the room. There she was, laid out on the bed, looking half out of it. And I said, well, you're in bed. Are you not feeling well? And she says, no, I'm not. Now, earlier in the week, she had complained about not feeling right up to par. And I said, well, have you thrown up? That's the second thing I always say to her after. You're not feeling well, did you throw up? Well, yeah, I kind of threw up my breakfast or something like that. And I said, well, has anybody come to look at you? And she goes, well, yeah, they have. Well, what's wrong with you then? Well, I don't know. I says, well, we're all set up for your birthday downstairs and everything. Well, that's not till Sunday. And I said, Mother, it's Sunday today. Now, I had been talking to her during the week too, and I had called her on the day of her birthday. Sunday wasn't her actual birthday, it was Thursday. And I've been talking to her during the week. She knew this was coming up. Like, there's nothing really wrong with my mother's memory, but she will put across to you sometimes, oh, what day is it? Now, they come in every day and they tell her what day it is. She's got a calendar on her wall. She's got her TV on. It tells you what the date is and the whole bit. So you never know. Does she? But I mean, I suppose when you're in an institution, one day is the same as the next. They could run together. I mean, sometimes I have to think about what day of the week it is too. So, but then I looked at her and says, "Oh, well, we had everything planned for this, but you're not feeling well." So I said, well, okay, I'll be back in about 10...
Well, didn't she say, oh, I'm sorry and stuff?
Yeah, she says, oh, I'm sorry about this. And I said, well, okay, guess it can't be helped. So I said, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Went downstairs, said to my mother, or to my sister and to Walters, guess what? She's in bed, she's sick, game over. I said... my sister took her cake back to her place because she only lives a mile away, and it was a hot day. You couldn't really leave it sitting in the car because you'd have mush, right? And we cleaned up everything that we had set up. I mean, it wasn't that extensive, but we had put some cheap old plastic tablecloths, festive looking, on the table. We had plates and flatware and everything like that. We had little banner. We had some centerpieces, and of course we had a gift table because we got her a few things. So my sister took the cake home, came back. I said, we'll meet you upstairs with Mom. And we lugged up the stuff that we got her for her birthday, for gifts and that. Get up to the room. She's no longer in bed. She's dressed. She's in her wheelchair. And one of the help are applying makeup to her. They're putting on her face. And that's the way I looked. I'm going, what? 10 minutes ago you're on your deathbed, suddenly now you're all up for a party, or what? They're getting you all up. And I didn't know what to do. So I said, well, Lori will be here in a minute. That's my sister. I said, we've got our gifts for you and everything like that. So we hung around, we gave her the gifts and that, and waited until it was time when they were getting them ready to take them down for their regular dinner. Our plan had been to order Chinese food. I hadn't ordered that yet for it, but anyways, we cleaned up everything and put it away, and now she's come back to life. But she's still kind of out of it. So we get her in the line, and I think the help thought we were taking her downstairs to have this birthday party. Well, no, it's been canceled now. And one of them, she's no fault of her own. She goes, oh, here comes the birthday girl. Now she's going to have this big party. And I'm looking at her going, no, we're not having that now. And then my mother says, oh, I thought we were having Chinese. And I could have just taken my head and put it right through a plate glass window at that point. Because what a difference 10 minutes makes. Really. And I said, well, no, Mom, you said you weren't feeling well. And I come back upstairs, find you in your wheelchair. They got you dressed, putting on your face. So, no, we're not. You're going down for your regular meal. I felt really bad about this. And, I mean, if I'd had the presence of mind, I could have turned around and said at that moment, oh, I guess you're feeling well enough. So, you're well enough that we'll go down and we'll do what we're going to do. Because, I mean, we could have set everything back up. Kind of a deal. My sister probably wouldn't have been very happy about going back home to get the cake and bring it back again. But we do that. But I didn't think of that in that point in time. Because my mother's a passive aggressive. She's a manipulator. And I don't know what she was doing with this. Also, you get her down there. If I had gone with this, if I had done this other thing, and halfway through the meal, she's going to be gagging and say she feels sick and is going to throw up or something. Because I don't know. I just don't know. Anyways, it was a bad afternoon. as far as I was concerned. So, and I'm probably public enemy number one amongst the nursing staff because they're probably going, "Oh, how was your birthday?" And she'll probably say, "We didn't have it." And they'll go, "Well, why?" And she'll go, "I don't know. My son just canceled it. I have no idea." Whatever. I can't win. I just can't win sometimes. So, anyways, I did talk about that a little bit more extensively in the vlog. If you're really interested in me having my own little pity party, you can hear it there. So that was last week. And then on Tuesday, we went into Toronto. A couple of friends of ours had invited us to spend the day out with them. They have a big sailboat that they dock at the Toronto Harbor, whatever they call it, yacht club or something like that, and everything. And so the idea was we were going out there and having lunch, and then we were heading off to a beach area that's nearby called Hanlan's Point. If you're in the Toronto area, Hanlan's Point is very famous because they have two sides of their beach. One side is clothing, the other side is clothing optional. We were on the clothing optional side, which
we didn't take the option.
We did not exercise the option. I can tell you that, and neither did our friends. I don't know why we were there because one, we're not beach people, clothes on, clothes off, whatever, on the best of occasions. And I really didn't think that either one of these two guys were beach people either. Well, I know Mark isn't.
Well, he does have like a deep tan.
Well, he has it from the boat because he
Yeah, I
likes to
suppose,
sail
yeah,
in
I
that.
don't know.
But he's one of those kind of people, he doesn't like to sit still for too long. And my other friend, well, we just loaded up on booze, got some rented chairs, umbrellas, and sat there, I don't know, and watched the scenery. Okay, I saw too much of things I don't need to see. One, gravity is not your friend. Not just at old age, at almost any age. Two, I now understand the expression perky breasts and why men are always looking for women with perky breasts, because I don't think those exist either. Again, back to number one about gravity. You know, whoa. Okay, not a pretty group on this beach. But the more you drank, the more fun you had. There was one guy, he had a little ghetto blaster. Well, that's probably not politically correct to call them that, a boombox or whatever. Little Bluetooth speaker, I guess. And he was playing good music, played the kind of music we like, so no problem. But he was smoking up. Well, it is legal in Canada. And I'm so naive sometimes. I remember the days when it wasn't legal, which was like a year ago. But I smell this smell, and I say to one of my friends, says, "Oh, there must be a skunk around here." And then I realize it isn't a skunk I'm smelling, it's pot. And my friend, he kind of laughed. He thought I was making a joke about the skunk part. I wasn't. That first thing went through my head. It's a skunk. But, no. So this guy occasionally would mellow out. He'd stand up and start...
He didn't take the option either. So.
No, he didn't take the option either. That one might have been more interesting if he had. But anyways, and he was standing there kind of sometimes dancing like this. You know, this kind of, I don't know what
I think
this
the more
is.
he smoked, the more he danced.
Yeah, that's right. And then later on the beach, they told us about this. There's this woman. She sells Freezy Pops, but they're adult Freezy Pops. They're fruit-flavored juices that have been spiked with booze, and they're $10 a piece. So we bought a couple. Actually, they were quite tasty. They were pretty good. Apparently, there's also another one walks on the beach selling special brownies, but she wasn't there that day. So, you know, with a combination of booze, marijuana, you know, and special brownies, you can have a lovely day. So maybe at that point you just want to take off all your clothes. I don't know. But yeah, it was actually not too bad. Then we went back to their boat that they had on the other side of the beach area, sort of a thing, for a barbecue. And, well, I had a little mishap. They have, to get down into the hold of their sailboat, you know, there's a stairway, but it's very narrow. It's more like a ladder. Nobody told me you should go down those things backwards. So I have my foot on the first run, and I go to take the next step, and suddenly the floor came up to meet me. as I fell flat on my back. And I kind of
I just started watching him go down
and
from the
giggle,
land,
yeah,
and
giggle.
all I could see was his head suddenly going bang. Yeah.
Yeah, I did hurt myself. I still got a little bit of pain, but I didn't break anything. I think I bruised, to the side of my knee, kind of a thing. I don't think I did any damage, and each day it's gotten a little better. I had a tensor bandage on it for a bit, and the first night though, because we stayed at their place that night, that was painful. That one I could not sleep. Of course, it doesn't help. They have this gigantic clock in the room we're in, and all I could hear all night was
Tick
tick
tock
tock, tick tock, bang on the half hour. And then when it got to the hour, you just wanted to throw it out a window because it was bang bang. It's not even a good chime. It's like a bang bang, like someone's got two pots in their hand and going boom 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 through it all. So that wasn't so good. You brought some of the special gummies, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I had a special gummy and I had a Tylenol. Neither one worked that well, but I'm fine now. So, anyways, yeah, it was an interesting day.
Wow, don't do that every day.
No, that's for sure.
Jules says,
Andy's here.
Jules says I knew someone in college that made marijuana beer, sold it for over $10 a bottle.
Oh, in 1979. Boy, that would have been expensive beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's lots of things you can make with marijuana, but edibles are still illegal in Ontario. Well, to sell them, I guess. I don't know if they're illegal if you make some and give them out to your friends. I don't know. Rosie's here. Hi, Rosie. And Marie is here. Marie 24. I think you're new, Marie. Ciao, Delatello.
Natalia.
Natalia.
So is that
Okay, I don't.
Are you from Italy?
Oh, you mean her? I'm not.
No. I said Marie. Is she from Italy?
Yeah, I would take it. I got an MJ cookbook. Oh, a Mary Jane. Okay, marijuana cookbook. Oh, Pracy, this does not surprise me about you. There would have been a time that anything that you told us you got into
Jean
would have
says hi.
surprised me. But
Jean says hi to everyone.
oh, hi, Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Can Jean never talk for herself? I don't think you have a sister, Jean, Andy. I think that's your imaginary friend. I don't know. Okay, so anyways, so that was our adventure, and we're going on another adventure, but not until next May. We have booked a river cruise that goes from Amsterdam to Budapest, but not till May. Walter did all the research and everything, and we have it all booked, including our flights, everything. So that should be lots of fun, barring anything should happen between that. Oh, we still have to get our cancellation insurance, but in that too. So that moves on to what's newsworthy. Well, our little mini Trump, Doug Ford, Premier of our province, he's been backing down a little bit on the things he was threatening to do with the education changes. However, a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. He thinks that by doing these things, he's not going to have...
Well, actually, he hasn't really been backing down on it. He's just been twisting the truth.
Twisting the truth, yeah, fake news, whatever. So the teachers are gearing up for a fight because their contracts run out next week. And so he thinks that he's going to win over the teachers, or he's going to beat the union. He's not going to. So September and October could be very interesting months here in Ontario in terms of the education system. We shall soon see. And I'm glad I'm not in it anymore. Andy says she can't chat because she doesn't have a YT account. Do you think it's fun for me to be the go-between? Well, why doesn't she have a YouTube account? It's not hard to get one. It doesn't cost you anything. You just need an email address. So, easy enough to do. Chris says, lovely, I did a cruise down the Murray River on an old paddle steamer for 5 nights. Oh, an old paddle steamer. That'd be interesting. And also hope they can hold fast. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm confused on that one. The teachers. Okay, got it. Yeah. Oh, the teachers will. Believe me. This is nothing new. This happens every 4 years.
Every time there's a new government.
Every time there's a new government, they try to go in and strip the teachers of everything, and in education system. So, the people that are in there in the union are old veterans to this whole thing. They have lots of tricks up their sleeve, and they know what kind of tricks the government tries to pull. And the fact is, the government never learns from one political party to the next as the years go by. They never learn from their mistakes. So. And he says, got me hanging why she won't. Claims she's technology challenged. She's one of those old fogies. Well, yeah. We all have them in our family. Believe me, my mother wouldn't have a clue. She can barely run the remote control on her television. Of course, she has people that will do that for her. And she takes advantage of that. So anyways, just before we get into today's discussion, a follow-up on last week's when we were talking about prices and things like that. A couple of people wrote to us or left comments that I want to share. Bonnie, she says, I must have the emotions of a rock because ads don't usually have an effect on me. The one time I would have seriously overpaid for something was when my daughter tried on a beautiful wedding dress that was very overpriced. She actually talked me out of it. She said she would only be wearing it for one day. Instead of a wedding ring, I wanted a washer dryer. This Bonnie said, she said, instead of a wedding. On a scale of 1 to 10 for romance, I guess that would put me at 0. Yes, I'm divorced, if you were wondering. Sometimes money needs to be spent purely for emotional reasons. In the US, we might have a vast selection of items to buy, but people here actually die because of a lack of health insurance or insurance that won't cover a medication that outrageously priced here. So we got two topics going on back to when we were talking medical systems and things like that. And Hayes writes, was talking about Amazon's prices fluctuating. She says, I use it often to view, she told us about a link to a site, which is actually, I think, connected to Amazon. It's called Camel Camel Camel. And it says, I use it often to view Amazon price fluctuations for any item I wish to watch or track. It's a good way for me not to overpay for something when the price could drop dramatically. I'm in the UK, but I've checked, and they also cover other countries, including Canada. Really handy if you're looking to pay your preferred price for an item based on its pricing history, etc. Setting up an alert when your watched items hit the price range you choose and that you are prepared to pay. So I checked it out, and I'm experimenting with it right now. I put in some things that I know are really expensive on there, and they're usually to do with quilting or embroidery. And I just put them in, and I put in what I would like to pay for it. I don't imagine that they'll drop the price to what I want to pay for it.
About $0.
Yeah, pretty much. But checking it out. So I didn't know this existed. So thanks, Hayes, for that piece of information. And I think you can go right on to Amazon and you can find it on Amazon if you're interested. You just have to register for it, and all you have to do is put in like your email address kind of a thing, and you create a password, and you can link it up then, and you can go into it and check whenever you want to, and set it up. It's very easy to use. So that's kind of a useful tool. Priestess says, my mom couldn't hook up her VCR. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people can't hook up electronics.
Yeah, and it's just not older people.
It's not just older people. Like, a lot of people are a little bit, it can get a little complicated, especially depending on what you have.
Well, we're kind of tech geeks to a point. Walter more so than me. Although it's
Well, I usually do the hookups, and if you've seen some of the back of our stereo systems, like
Wire City.
It's a zoo of wires, so.
Yeah. But, of course, he does the hookups. I'm usually the one that can figure out the stuff online, the apps and the software to use for things or to do things more efficiently. Of course, he won't admit to the fact that, because he was a computer programmer.
Well, yeah, I was, but I didn't have to do that sort of stuff, so.
Whatever. Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of computer programmers at work that used to go, somebody say, oh, well, I wonder what this does, or wonder what that does. And I said, why don't you Google it? And they go, oh, yeah, I guess so. But it's because you were working in software. You don't necessarily work with everyday applications.
See, what I do is I go, I wish I could do this. Wait, I wonder if this could be done in this program or that program, or if I did this and that, and then I start to play, and next thing I know, a whole day has gone by as I've been trying to figure it out.
Right, I can sit there and spend lots of time on the computer just
You already do.
thinking up things to look up. So
You already do.
yeah, I know I do that.
I'm making quilts, and you've been researching our trip, so, and all that. So anyways, my own private personal travel agent. So that takes us to today's discussion. Now, before we start in on today's discussion, I know this one's going to be controversial.
Oh, fill up your glass.
And I don't want anybody to get upset with the things that I might say. I do have a very strong opinion about this particular topic. And I won't back down from this opinion. And you'll understand why as we get into it, I'm sure. But I'm not saying that, well, we're going to talk about religion. One of those topics, one of the big three topics you should never talk to with people you don't know or even people you do know, religion, politics, and money kind of a thing. So we're going to break that rule by talking about religion, but we're talking about organized religion. So I want to say right off the bat that my beef is not with religion, small r, okay, meaning spirituality. Everybody is entitled to have their beliefs in something bigger than themselves. And it isn't for me to say that your particular set of beliefs are wrong. But it's not somebody else's prerogative to say that mine are wrong. And usually you run into that conflict, not with people who are spiritual, but with people who are very much invested into organized religion. Like the Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, the Presbyterian Church, Muslims, Jewish people, Rastafarians, all that kind of stuff, okay? Those are all very organized types of religion that have a set of doctrines, a set of dogmas and traditions that people who are very much invested in those kind of things follow faithfully. We know how faithful people can be. That's what I have my beef with, and you'll understand why as we talk about this goes on. But generally speaking, if someone is spiritual, if it's something that gets them through the day, if it's something that is a philosophy that helps them find their own truth and their own light in the world, and they're not hurting anybody else with it, like i.e. forcing it down their throat, then more power to you. That's great. But organized religion, I say it sucks, and it's the reason why we have a lot of world problems today. And I hope you will jump in and, share your views on it. But again, I don't want to make this into a big argument, just a discussion. And I'm going to start it off by explaining my religious background. And then we'll talk about Walter's. Mine's longer to explain, so I'll go first. I was born a Christian, I guess. I don't think I ever was a Christian, but I was more or less brought up in a Christian church, in the Protestant church, United Church actually, the United Church of Canada, by my parents. Mostly my mother. My father went along because she made him go. And it comes back from my grandparents, my mother's parents. They were I never knew my grandfather, her father, because he died when I was 2 years old. But I know my grandmother, Barnum, was very much, before she went into the nursing home, she was going to church faithfully. And She was also came from the temperance movement. Her family were teetotalers. They didn't drink. Actually, my grandmother started to drink a little bit of wine because my father introduced her to it. Like it used to be like one glass special occasion at dinner. She used to, I think by the time she went in the nursing home, I think my dad had her up to about 3 glasses. But she would never go out and buy it for herself or do anything like that. It was only in my parents' home at a special family dinner. My mother always made us go. I went through Sunday school. I was in the church quite well. Then we changed. We became Presbyterians. We were United Church for many, many years. I was baptized and christened in the United Church. And when we moved to Whitby, which is the town next door to where we live, and that was in 1968, we came from a little back hills, little fart of a place in eastern Ontario. And we moved up to Whitby. And my parents didn't really like the minister at the church, the United Church that was here at the time. But somebody told them about trying out the Presbyterian Church. Now, Presbyterians are pretty much the same as United Church. United Church was made up of Methodists, Congregationalists, and Free Presbyterians back in about the 1920s. That's why it's called the United Church. It was 3 different, all combined in one. Presbyterians, pure Presbyterians, it's also known as the Church of Scotland. That's where its roots lie. But basically, the dogma, the traditions, everything like that are pretty much the same as the United Church. Except that Presbyterians are also known for being very cheap. And in fact, Presbyterians are also known as being somewhat strict in their moral outlook on things, because the joke always was, why do Presbyterians not have sex standing up? Because it could lead to dancing. So whatever, wasn't quite that bad, but that was the joke. So we joined the Presbyterian Church, and I was in the Presbyterian Church for 35 years, probably. For 25 of those years, I sang in the choir. My father was an elder of the church, and in some Protestant churches, they elect you for a term to be an elder, which is basically the governing body of the church. But in the Presbyterian Church, you're appointed for life. My father did eventually, he couldn't stand the hypocrisy, and he quit, resigned his eldership, and then he just stopped going. And as his health was failing too, my mother didn't really make him go as much. She was pissed off with him. She thought he should be going. My mother was always very involved with the church. She was the head of the Presbyterian Women, which, the Women's Auxiliary or something like that. They have different names for it. And my parents were fairly prominent members of the church. And I even taught Sunday school when I was a teenager at one point in time. So, I was pretty much involved. I belonged to the young people's group in the church and all that kind of stuff. But I never ever felt, I didn't like going. But I went because my mother made me. And then as I became an adult, Matt, it was, if I didn't go, it was guilt. So then we had a big problem. Presbyterian Church, it was all the time when they legalized same-sex marriage in Canada. And even before then, things were
About
brewing.
2004.
Yeah, it was 2004, because we got married the year later. It's 2005. And they were trying to claim that they were all-inclusive. And we heard some stories about some gay people that were in the church, but they were basically doing their own version of, not conversion therapy, but they still believed that if you were gay, you were an abomination. Now, Presbyterians never use the word abomination with it. United Church don't use it, or anything like that. Certain religions do. Pentecostal definitely do. We know that because I'll come to that story in a bit. But it was hypocrisy. They were trying to pray away the gay, in a way, in the church. Now, it was done subtly in the Presbyterian Church, because Presbyterians don't do anything that's too out there and dramatic and in your face, okay? They're just not their nature. But nevertheless, and I was really sick and tired of this hypocrisy. And so I thought I would do something about it. I quit. I quit the choir. I basically quit the church. But just before I completely left, Walter and I had arranged a meeting with my minister. Now, he thought we were there because he knew I was gay, and he thought we were there to ask him to marry us. And he started right off in the conversation. He says, well, you know I can't marry you. And I said, we're not here for that. I said, I know you can't marry us. I'm not asking you to marry us. In fact, we've already got ourselves someone that will marry us. We got a Unitarian minister. Unitarians will marry anybody to anybody. That's just the way they are.
They're very free thinking.
They're very free thinking in their church. They're probably even more liberal in the United Church. And my God, the United Church is pretty liberal, I can tell you that. So anyways, I said, no, I'm here to discuss with you. I said, a concern I have with the church. You're talking about being inclusive and all of this stuff, but this is not what I see. And we talked about all of this and whatnot, and then I was so shocked. And this is what finally made me wake up, smell the coffee, and get the hell out of organized religion. My minister turned around and he talked about the gay pride that he had seen on TV in Toronto. And he says, well, he just couldn't condone that kind of lifestyle because, you know, they're all out there with body parts hanging out and they're wearing outlandish outfits and this and all this. And I looked at him and I said, you do realize that, yes, some of them do. It's a parade. But the average everyday homosexual out there doesn't do that every day of the week and stuff. And what?
Never.
And he said, well, you know, they show it on TV. I was absolutely shocked. This is an educated man. He had a master's degree in divinity. He had studied for that master's degree. He went to New York for that at one point in time. He was a very nice man as well, but he was no fool. And in fact, he used to be a Muslim. Yes, he was born in Jerusalem as a Muslim. And when he was 13 years old, he converted to Christianity himself. He was disowned by... What the hell are you doing?
It's a fruit fly. It's bugging me.
It's a pet.
It wants to have a drink of my drink.
Oh, God.
Anyway, okay.
Anyways, he had been a Muslim, turned to Christianity when he was 13 years old. His family disowned him completely. And he went off and did his own thing and became a Presbyterian minister. So I thought this was shocking. And the things he was saying, I thought, wait. If anyone should know about discrimination in society based upon, you know, your background, you should understand this. And he didn't. So I did set up a meeting with the elders of the church. It was supposed to be a meeting. He wanted me to talk to them as a sort of he was trying to reach out an olive branch, I think, in sort of a half-assed way. You know, inform them, enlighten them about, you know, the gay world, LGBTQ issues. They wanted to know. Okay, for any other human being on the face of the planet, walking into a room full of 30 men and women who are elders of the church to discuss your sexuality with them should have made me turn around and run with my tail between my legs. But it didn't. I went in. Supposedly they were giving me 20 minutes. I was in there for an hour and a half or longer. And I couldn't believe the ignorance of some of these people. Other people in there. And these are people that I had known most of my life. I mean, these weren't strangers to me that were in there. They weren't friends, but they were, well, some of them were friends to my family, to my parents and that. But these are people I knew, okay? So I wasn't walking into a complete room full of strangers. The questions they asked were one-sided questions. What I mean by that is they already had their mind made up. They're just asking the question to find fault with me. It was a grueling hour and a half, but my final answer to them was this. Well, if you want to know more, my door is always open. I said, the problem you're going to have is finding my office. And that was the day I walked out completely of the church, and I've never looked back. Except I've looked back on my life. I am not a Christian. I was never a Christian. Do I believe in Jesus Christ? I think he existed. I think he was a very good man. I do not believe that everything that we read in the Bible actually is the truth. Do I believe in the Bible? It's a good book. I don't mean that as a pun. It is a good book. It's full of history. It's full of literature. But it's full of metaphor and allegory. Okay? It isn't the facts. Okay? No, there was no Adam and Eve or an Adam and Steve. Okay? No. There was evolution. But the people who wrote that Bible, who wrote that book, they wrote it 200-300 years after, or they assembled it 200 to 300 years after the death of Christ. There were a whole lot of other gospels and other books out there called the agnostic. Is it agnostics or the no? That's where the word agnostic comes from, but I forget there's a term. Which basically the church council at the time decided, not putting those in, like the book of Thomas. Thomas was one of the disciples of Christ, according to the Bible, and he was called Doubting Thomas because he's the one that said when Christ resurrected, I'm not going to believe it unless I see it with my own eyes. And then Christ supposedly appeared to him, and he touched the wounds in his hands and the wounds in his feet and saw the slice in his side and the whole bit and became a believer at that point. But apparently in the book of book of Thomas, he talks about Christ's life as in he wasn't actually crucified, that he actually got married and had children as well. And of course, we've all heard the Da Vinci Code, right? Well, that's fiction, all right, all about that. But the whole point is, so many people put so much belief and faith into one little book that was written thousands of years ago, that was edited and manipulated in order to manipulate people. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't read your Bible. There are university courses where they study the Bible as literature, and things like that. And if it gives you some sort of comfort, because there's a lot of good things in the Bible, then sure, go for it. But don't force it down my throat as being the be-all and the end-all. Because the Jewish people have the Quran.
No,
or
not the Jewish, it's Muslims.
Muslims is the Quran. It was Jewish. Torah.
I don't know.
Torah. Anyways, they are their books with it. And they tell some different stories in there too. So, you kind of have to look at the books. As an English teacher, I look at literature as being something that is philosophical, metaphoric, allegorical, symbolic. That you get out of it what you read into it. And it doesn't mean it's necessarily the absolute proof. But in organized religion's terms, some, yes. Also, why is the Catholic Bible different from a Protestant Bible? Has anybody ever thought about that? Because they are. So why do Catholics think they're more right than Protestants are? Because they're both Christian. They're both branches of Christianity.
Anyway.
What were people saying here?
Prezi says up here at the top here, raised Catholic. Prezi.
Yeah, I'm just catching. Okay, raised Catholic. Never got into it. Too free-spirited. Renounced at age 15. Thought about running away to join the Amish. Then gave up all religion at 21.
I don't think you'd be happy being Amish.
No, you don't impress me as the kind of person that I don't see in a little bonnet and a dress. Well, I have no idea what you look like. I've never seen you. But, I don't know how that would work. Hi, Carol. And Chris says, we do so many things out of obligation and guilt. Yeah, my mother was excellent at putting guilt on us. And it was obligation. I went to church not because I enjoyed it. I went to church because I didn't want to hurt my mother's feelings. She thought it was important. And now, ironically, she could go to church services and Bible studies every day of the week at the nursing home. She goes on an occasion, but not very often. And when she goes, she bitches about the minister. So, there you go. Priest says, my mom probably still goes to church 3 times a week and is self-righteous, but she was abusive to her kids and dated married men. Heathen! Oh my God.
But she's good Catholic.
Yeah, well, my brother converted to Catholicism when he got married. And yeah, no. I mean, I learned a lot about the Catholic faith because of my brother's marriage. And basically, you are brainwashed at birth in the Catholic Church for sure. Like telling you have to have lots of children because God put you on this earth to reproduce. That's one of the things they don't like about us gays, because we're not procreating. Well, we can. It's just done in a little different way. That's all. The Mormon priest says the Mormon church is falling apart. Chris says it won't drink much.
Oh no, it's talking about my fruit fly.
Oh. Priest says there was 4 hominids walking around, intermingling, interbreeding. This disproves Adam and Eve. Yeah, just a whole bunch of horny little monkeys produce on everything else. Yeah. My manicure is to blame for my typos. Oh, okay. Andy says, my dad told me he believed in evolution, but he also said a supreme being had to have gotten it started. My dad had a master's degree in zoology. Actually, I agree with your dad. I do believe there is a superior presence in the universe that gives reason to why there's a universe. I do believe that. And that's why I now call myself a born-again agnostic. There's a difference between agnostics and atheists. Agnostics believe that there is the potential of a superior power or presence in the universe. Atheists just say there's nothing. There's an old joke. An atheist had passed away, and it was the viewing in the funeral home, and people were coming in and looking at him, and you know how people go, oh, how nice they look. You know, they're dead, and they were going, yeah, look at him, all dressed up with no place to go. So, but I'm not an atheist. I do believe in a superior power as well.
Actually, I think our brains need to...
I think we need to believe in something bigger than
believe in
ourselves.
something that why things are the way they are.
I mean, you get the scientific evolution that, we're all basically a form of energy, and, energy is constantly fluctuating and changing. So we don't just go to oblivion. We just transform into another form of energy or whatever. Maybe that's people who are trying to put, the idea of an afterlife when they don't really believe in, in a formal afterlife like heaven and hell. I mean, though lately, looking at what's happening in politics, I'm starting to believe there could be an Antichrist. His name is Trump. But, in order to believe in an Antichrist, you have to believe in the existence of a hell. And if you believe in the existence of a hell and a devil, you have to believe in the antithesis of that, which is a heaven and a God as well. I think heaven is one of those places that we all put to comfort people when somebody dies. We don't like to think that we spend our life on the face of this planet and then suddenly, well, we're gone, that's it, bang, nothing to it. Of course, there's some religions in the world that believe in reincarnation. And I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. It's just nobody's really ever proven it beyond a shadow of a doubt, although, they hypnotize you and supposedly you had a past life doing something or other. I don't know. Who knows? Roy's here. Hi, Roy. Hey boys, spend 3 days in the belly of a blue whale. Some throw pillows and art make it a nice place. There are people I know who truly believe in the creation story. Hug. I always put it down to this. Actually, I was surprised one time, way back when I was probably in my late teens or that, and I was shocked that my mother actually believed in Adam and Eve. I mean, I didn't consider my parents stupid people, and I said to my, no, it's an allegory. It was like a primitive people's way of trying to explain something that they could understand in creation, they observed nature. There's females, there's males, there's babies. You know how that comes about. So, kind of thing. But no, she did. She absolutely did. Okay. Never mind. Carol says, true, Bootsy. I often argue evolution with people who believe it literally. Okay, Carol, I often argue evolution with people who believe it literally. I guess you mean believe in the creation story literally is what you're talking about. Yeah. And who's to say that they have to be exclusive? Maybe day in Bible is equal to billions of our years. Yeah, I've heard that argument before. And I have to say that at one point in time, I sort of subscribed to all of that, like trying to melt the creation story with evolution. And there's too many holes. However, there are holes in evolution theory as well. It's not quite as neatly laid out as Darwin may have put it. There are some holes. There's always that missing link kind of a thing and whatnot. So who's to say? But I mean, the science doesn't lie when it comes to the geology. I mean, what was it? They said at one point in time that the Earth was only like 4,000 and something years old based on biblical creation theory. And yet science says that it's billions of years old. I think I tend to believe in the science more than in that. But again, that's organized religion that tells us those things. And then those Bible thumpers get out there and they start quoting out of context, Bible passages to prove things. And the other reason I left the church as well, and this has to do with being gay, is that people are always throwing at you Leviticus from the Bible, that we are an abomination. It says in that. Nowhere in the Bible does it say gay people are abomination. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that same-sex relationships are an abomination. Nowhere in the Bible does it say marriage is between one man and one woman. Those are all bits and pieces that have been strung together and used by organized religion against the LGBT community and anybody who doesn't believe in what they believe in. So when we got flowers for our wedding, we went to a flower school. It was recommended by a friend of ours. He said, they do a really great job. You get them for half the price you'd pay at a regular florist. So I went, and I'd called them up first and said, I'd like to come in and talk about flowers for my wedding, and I need some, so many centerpieces and some other things. And they said, oh yeah, sure, come on in. So I went in, and there's a woman behind the counter, and I said, hi, I called earlier about, making arrangements for flowers for my wedding. Then I had my list out and said, so I need this number of centerpieces, and these are the colors we would like. And she's standing there staring at me. And then I looked at her, and she goes, we don't serve people like you because you're an abomination.
Well, she looked at us first and said, is it for your two weddings?
Is this for your wedding? Pointing at Walter. And I said, yeah. And then I carried on.
Wedding, yeah.
Yeah, I said, yeah. And moved on. And she's calling us an abomination. Walter at that point started to ease himself out of the door because I knew, because he probably saw that I was probably very red in the face and I was about to burn the place down. And I have to say, I did keep my temper. I said, well, fine, if I'm an abomination, then I said, I can go someplace else because I don't need to deal with you. And we left. But I didn't let it go. I called up the human rights from our government. And I talked to a guy who I think might have been gay on the other end of the phone. And I told him what had happened. I says, I don't know, do we have a case? And he says, oh yeah, you have a case. He says, I will send you the paperwork for that and we'll get right to it. Well, he did. And I got a phone call from the owner of this flower store or flower school, who was not there at the time the incident took place. It was one of her employees. And I guess they were affiliated with the Pentecostal church. So she consulted her minister about it. And she says, that should not have happened. Now, when she said that at first, I thought, okay, so this was wrong and, this guy. no. What was wrong was the way it was handled. It wasn't wrong because they believed we were an abomination. And she proceeded to offer to do, she says, have you got another florist? Because we'll do your flowers for free. Like basically to make up for this. And I says, no, we do have another florist. We actually went to a florist that I had dealt with for years through the school system because I used to be on the, what we used to call it, the Flower and Nut Fund. It was the, social club kind of a thing. And I ordered them all the flowers all the time from the same place. And so they knew kind of who I was. But when we walked in and said, yeah, we would like to make arrangements for, flowers for our wedding. Whoa, couldn't have been nicer. Got out a book. In the book, there are pictures, how they show brides and grooms, and they're showing flower arrangements in their hands and stuff like that. They had 2 guys, they had 2 women in there. I mean, obviously they realized there's big money to be made from the LGBT community at that point in time when it had just become
we
legal.
weren't asking them to come and stay at our wedding. All we were doing was buying flowers from them.
We're just buying bloody centerpieces, And they couldn't have been nicer. So I said to this other woman at the flower school, I says, nope. And we had absolutely no reaction from them whatsoever. They couldn't have been nicer. Well, she said, we really shouldn't have done that. That isn't very good. We're very supportive because there's this girl who sleeps on the park bench in the fall, and we've let her stay here at night upstairs. It was an old house kind of a thing. It was the flower school, and we're not allowed to do that, but we did that anyways. So you're telling me that because some homeless person that you suspect it might be a lesbian, you let stay here one night out of the cold? Aren't you big-hearted? Isn't that generous? Doesn't that just wash away all your other feelings about the LGBTQ people and, just make everything better? I couldn't believe as she went on about this, like, you're not getting the point, lady. And I said that to her, said, well, thank you for having this discussion with me, but I'm not going to withdraw the human rights case because basically it's too little too late. So thank you for the discussion. Bye-bye. Well, they went out of business a few months later, but I think that was because of us. They basically just went out of business.
Well, they went out of business because I was reading online a bunch of other complaints that they had too. So,
but they were Pentecostal background. So there you go. Organized religion. Because Pentecostal is a very evangelistic form of religion, and it's called, let's drive Jesus down your throat, shall we? Choke on that Jesus! Jesus, that's good! Choke, 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 choke! I'm Jesus! Anyways, gets me upset.
Lots of people are commenting.
Yeah, good. That's what we want. Where did we leave off?
Says there's a blue belly of the whale. That was.
Yeah. Okay, and then don't you with that?
Carol says I often argue evolution.
Yeah, we did that one. Creation, yes. Bootsy, I know someone who hasn't evolved yet. Ex-son-in-law. In the Creator wanted you to know the entire human experience. Jesus would have been married with children. Yeah, really. What did Jesus? Let's think about it from the Bible point of view. What did Jesus really know about human relationships? He was single. Let's think about this. And I'm not trying to be funny here. He's a single guy. He's in his early 30s. He's hanging around with, 12 other pretty much single guys. I think a couple of them might have been married, but they just got up and left their wives and their children to follow Christ. Like, really? Who was supporting the family while he was out gallivanting, walking across water and, turning fishes into loaves or loaves into fishes or whatever, with all that kind of stuff. Okay, maybe Jesus was, leader of a little group of LGBTQ people. I don't know. Who knows? But even if he hadn't been, what does he know about relationships between people? What did he know about child rearing? Bring the little children unto me. Okay, if we heard that from some guy in the street with long hair and wearing a robe, bring your children unto me, we'd be calling the cops pedophile. Okay? Just saying. All right? he's hanging out with a whore. Okay, Mary Magdalene was a hooker. That was her profession. I'm sure she was lovely, but that was her profession. He supposedly saved her from that life. Did he? Why did he pay so much attention to one little hooker? Of course, then we have the Da Vinci Code thing, and that's all fake, but who knows? So, what's that all about? Kind of a deal.
Andy says.
Andy says, I'd rather believe and at death find out I'm wrong than not believe and find out I was wrong. Jean believes and says the worst thing is that she would have lived as a good person. I think that's the other thing. You look at the number of crimes in the world that are committed for the sake of organized religion. Okay? The genocides that have happened because one group feels that they are superior from their spiritual point of view than another group. Look at the conflict we have today with the Muslim community and the whole bit. And I had people in my department who were, well, just drip on the microphone.
Yeah, okay. I didn't
Jeez.
realize that.
Can't get good help. And those people, what they believed in, they weren't forcing it down my throat. So why should Christians be forcing their religion down Muslims' throats? And we have all kinds of examples of that kind of stuff. So really, Roy says, read somewhere that some scholars believe that the water-to-wine wedding was that of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Why would JC's mom come to him to tell him there was not wine? He was the host. Well, I mean, really, I wish I could just touch water and make it into wine too, because I'd never have to go
So
to the
anyway,
store
we talked about your religion.
Yeah, what about your religion?
I don't have one.
You're an agnostic.
I when I grew up, my mother's parents never had a religion. Like, I guess in Holland you had there was a couple of different religions. You were either a Catholic or you were Dutch Christian Reformed, or you were nothing. And my mother's parents were nothing. They never went to church. They didn't. So she was brought up in a non-religious background. But any basis to their religion or anything was more leaning toward a Christian, idea or faith or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And my dad was born and raised a Catholic, but after he married my mother, he stopped going to church. So
basically your mother corrupted him.
Yeah. So and actually he wasn't he didn't agree with the Catholic Church that much anyway. So when he met my mother, he agreed with her more. So when I grew up, I had questions like other kids went to church, and I said, well, why aren't we going to church? And my mother says, well, we don't do that. And but then when the schools, even the public schools, when I went to school, I had sort of a Christian background in there, and then I'd ask about the Bible and stuff like that, and she went out and bought me Christian Bible stories book or whatever. But
the big book of Christian stories.
But
Bible
she
stories.
said we don't go to church, and she says if you decide you want to go to church later on in life, that's up to you, right? But I was never baptized either. So. I know some people, I was awful that I was never baptized. That I would go to wherever non-baptized children go. All the
purgatory.
Purgatory. All the kids I hung around with when I was growing up I lived in a Catholic neighborhood, so all the kids I hung around with were Catholic. And they always treated me nasty. Like I wasn't part of their group. So they would leave me out of things all the time.
Yeah, I experienced that too with the kids on my street. They were Catholic. We were not. Never had a relationship with them at all. And we only lived 2 houses away. But you see, that's the organized part.
Like, I mean, I had a guy that I hung around with down the road, and he was Catholic. I wasn't, and we were kind of the best of friends for a long time. And then, you know, I got a job, a full-time job. He got a full-time job, and he got married and everything else. Later on, I bumped into a couple of the guys that he hung around with, or he knew and stuff like that. I guess a whole group of them, as adults, would get together and play cards and stuff like that. But they're all part of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I wasn't part of that, so
No.
I was left out.
Yeah, and you see, it's all because of indoctrination. And that's the other thing I want to talk about a little bit. We've touched on it anyways, is that really there's a difference. There's a conflict between spirituality, or not conflict, but spirituality versus propaganda. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if you go to church and you go because you're going because it does something for you inside, it makes you feel better, it makes you brings comfort to you, something, that's fine. But when it starts becoming propaganda, and when it says that you have to eat meat on Fridays, you have to do this and that and the other thing, you can't associate with this or that kind of people, because if they're not of the true religion, they are heathen and they are devil spawn and all that kind of stuff, then I've got something against that. I really do. I think religion is something that should be very personal, is very personal, and it should be up to you what you believe in and whatever it does for you personally. But you should not step over the boundaries and start telling other people how they should live their lives. And that's what many of these religions do, especially in the Bible Belt areas of the world. I mean, the southern United States is a Bible thumping belt area, and Western Canada are Bible thumpers too. And yes, if someone thinks I'm being derogatory by calling them Bible thumpers, yeah, I am.
Fundamentalist Christians.
Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're Bible thumpers who probably, most of them, only have 3 teeth and have never read most of the book of the Bible. When I went to school, in grade 5, every grade 5 kid was given their own little New Testament.
Well, yeah, I got those.
Yeah. They used to come back. It was put out by the Gideon Society. The Gideon Society was a non-denominational Christian organization. It still exists today. They're the ones that are usually, you find one of their Bibles in a hotel room, because they place them there. I don't know much more about the Gideon Society than that, but each of us got a New Testament. I don't think they do that anymore in the schools. No. Well, because it's Christian. I mean, in a school system, you could have Muslims, you could have everything. You know, so, you know, you're giving a Muslim a Bible. Okay, what's that saying about a tolerant society? Not much. So, no, they don't do that anymore. But that was the thing. It was all propaganda.
Well, probably when we grew up, almost everybody in school were Christian, so...
And we've all been threatened with the heaven and hell thing. You know, your reward will come in the next life. You know, like the whole bit, like that you're going to go to heaven if you do good. Well, yeah, I think it's a good idea to be a good person and try to do your best to be good. But, you know, people used to raise their children threatening them with that. Like, you're going to go to hell. You're going to burn in the eternal fire forever, never, never, never. Kind of a thing. So, and the Catholics, of course, believe in purgatory as well. You know, it's kind of the waiting room to, well, where are we going? I don't know. I don't understand the whole concept of purgatory, and, you know, I don't care. Because it's all part of that organized indoctrination that comes from it. So basically, it puts it down to, what about churches as cults? Okay? Like the JWs, Jehovah Witness. All those people are messed up. You know, Jehovah Witnesses, Church of Scientology, all that kind of stuff. Again, organized, messed up. And you can't even have a reasonable discussion about what these people believe, especially the JWs. Now, the Mormons are kind of funny, because I've never figured out the Mormons. The only thing I know is they send out these really cute guys to come to your door and talk to you about Christ. And why do they always send the cute ones? Really? The good propaganda there. And of course, there's been lots of movies made about Mormon boys. Do I need to say any more? And of course, then there's the Book of Mormon. And I am talking about the stage play. Hilarious! If you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. Hilarious. I'm surprised it hasn't been made into a movie yet. But there's a fine line between an organized religion and a cult. What's a cult? A group of people that believe in something, they have a leader, and they'll do anything for that leader, and they'll do anything for their beliefs. And anybody outside of the cult is dirt. Catholic Church. Could be a cult. Who knows? I mean, after all, Catholics have this superior being, this human that wears a nice tall hat and has a dress on, and it seems whatever comes out of his mouth, a third of the world bows down to. Wow. Power.
Well, actually, Bootsy was to say, in the 60s when we grew up in school, we used to have to say the Lord's Prayer.
Oh, that's right. We don't now, because no, not in Canada. Anyways, yeah, I'd forgotten about that. We used to say the Lord's Prayer in school. Yep, that's very true. What else is being said here? Tracy says, I believe the theory that Jesus was really the son of Cleopatra and Caesar. I've never heard that one. I'm not even sure. Does that work? Is a time period... It was Caesar Augustus, wasn't it, that was in charge when Christ was crucified? Is that, well, Caesar just means king or ruler. So, interesting. Don't know. Oh, hi, Deuce. She's hot. Who's hot?
Mary Magdalene?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or is this just a troll? I don't know. Bootsy says, John's maternal grandmother was not permitted to be buried next to her Catholic husband because she was Protestant, so very compassionate and Christian. Well, yeah, I don't know if this is true today, but there was a point in time, I was told, but I think they rescinded on that. Catholics did not believe in cremation because they actually believed in the final resurrection, you know, the final judgment days, and the dead would rise, literally. You know, like, okay, I think it would be better to be cremated at that point, because if you've been down in the earth for a couple of 100 years, you're not going to look really good. You're going to need major work. Simple as that. You're
Brenda
coming
said
back.
she grew up Lutheran. Sunday school, communion, confirmation classes, Bible study. Even got married in Zion Lutheran Church. But after that, I was
Inundated with mail telling me I had to
oh
tithe my paycheck to them. Yes. Oh, yeah. Organized religion is a great moneymaker. Look at the Catholic Church. They are one of the most powerful organizations in the world. And why are they powerful? Because they have the most wealth. You know, they have, if all you have to do is go to the Vatican on a tour, like next time you're in Rome, check out the Vatican if you've never seen it. It's opulent. It's the stuff that's there, and we're only seeing a small fraction of it. They don't let the general public see the stuff that they've been having, that they have in their archives and the whole bit there. That they could solve world hunger if they would just cash in some of the damn artwork that they've got. And I mean, other religions too. I don't want to just be picking on the Catholics, okay? It's when I come from a Protestant background, it's easy to pick on Catholics. But
well, actually, Catholic was more. Like I said, I grew up with a bunch of Catholics, so I mean, I wasn't exposed as much to other religions like Lutheran or even Protestant that much. It was
no, well, Lutheran are Protestant.
okay.
They're just they're kind of like Methodists, Congregationalists. It's all very, it's all kind of the same thing. The only only Protestant church that might be a little bit closer to being Catholic is the Anglican Church, and that's basically because of Henry VIII. When he declared that he was going to be the supreme ruler of the Church of England and create the Church of England, that was the Anglican Church. Well, they still have rites and things they do in the Anglican Church that are very much like the Catholic Mass. So, you know.
Anyway, so
What else is being said here? Caesarion. was banished from Egypt and went to India and stayed with a couple named Mary and Joseph. He returned to Egypt, and his sister Mary Celine, aka Mary Magdalene, and brother became his followers. Okay. Sorry, after finding out the co-pastor was off vacation in Hawaii, I thought my money did more good in my pocket. I still can't afford a trip to Hawaii 40 years later. Yeah, true. I really want to know what the deal is with Freemasons. Okay, Freemasons, my father was a Mason. There's been a whole lot of legends around Freemasons. They're a Christian group, but they're more than that. They're not really, I don't think, I've watched several different shows and read some things about the Freemasons. You see, my father wouldn't tell you much about it for two reasons. One, I don't think he knew that much about it, and even though he was one, but he wasn't a good one. He wasn't a practicing one. That was something that he just got into because his father had been a Freemason. It ran in the family, kind of a thing. I know when I turned 21, he wanted to know if I wanted to join. I went, hell no, I'm not joining the Ku Klux Klan. He says, no. I said, the Freemasons. I mean, no, Ku Klux Klan. Actually, I have learned since those days that really they're not, they do a lot of good behind the scenes, but there's been a whole mystery around them, like secret society, you know, they ride on brooms and have wands. I don't know, kind of Harry Potterish. I'm not sure. I was so livid when I visited the Vatican, as angry as when I wished the Palais de Versailles, poor people dying from hunger when the one percenters were sitting on gold toilets. Yeah, exactly. And Andy says the movie Shoes of the Fisherman was about a Catholic pope who gave away the church's wealth to feed the Chinese who were starving because of famine. Yeah, and how long did he last after that? And he didn't give away all of its wealth, obviously. So I sort of vaguely remember that movie. That's a really old movie. And I think a lot of it is really fiction. Like, they're saints. You know, that's the other thing. And there's other churches, too, not just the Catholic, that have saints. Or Orthodox, like, what, Greek Orthodox? I'm not sure how Greek Orthodox fits into the whole thing. I don't know if they're sort of Catholic-like, but
I think they're somewhat Catholic-like.
Whatever. But they have, like, the Russian church in that. Now, that's probably, is that Greek Orthodox?
It's a fiction movie.
Oh. Yeah, I would say so. You know, they Russians have icons. They have these little pictures of saints, and they place those on altars, and they light candles for them, and they have them in their homes and everything like that. And they're actually very beautiful pieces of art, some of them as well. But isn't that worshiping idols? And then in the Christian faith, that was something that people were told in the Ten Commandments. You're not supposed to have idolatry. You're not supposed to worship idols, kind of a thing. Didn't Moses come down the mountain with the 15 commandments, saw them worshiping, they took all their jewelry, melted it down, and made this great big bowl or something. They were all worshiping. He got so upset, they threw one of the tablets, and that's why we only have 10 commandments. Okay, see the life of Brian. That's where I'm getting all my information from. No, not really. Moving on. We've talked about the Catholic Church way too much. Okay, war. I want to talk about war for just a second. If you look at the history of warfare, there are really two reasons there's war. For money and for power. And both of those things are usually wrapped up in organized religion. Like, why is it that we glorify war anytime in the history of mankind, and we say that, you know, God is on somebody's side? Well, God's on everybody's side then, I guess. But one side has more God connection than the other side, but they all go into it. There's even hymns that are written about war as being holy wars. And then there were holy wars. There was the Knights Templar. There was all that in history and stuff like that. So, you know, right off the bat, religion is full of violence, full of hate, full of discrimination, full of everything that isn't supposed to be that doesn't sound like universal love to me. So I don't know. That's something else about it. Brenda says, all through 13 years of Sunday school, I managed to read the whole Bible. Now I view it as a manuscript for storylines for soap operas when the writers are stumped for ideas. Well, yeah, and there's inconsistencies in the Bible, too, about all kinds of things. Like I said, I think there are parts of the Bible that if they bring people comfort, then that's fine. Just don't. It's like I am not going to force down somebody's throat the complete works of Shakespeare if they don't really want it. Okay?
And
as far as I'm concerned,
it's the basis of many storylines.
That's right. And as far as I'm concerned, Shakespeare, every human being on the face of the planet should have to have read at least one Shakespearean play or seen it once in their life. English background. But I don't force it down people's throats. Only kids that I was teaching, because it was on the curriculum. And damn it, they were going to love Shakespeare. In fact,
well, geez, if I went to school when you were teaching Shakespeare, from what I hear, the way you taught it, I would have maybe actually liked it.
well, it's because I found all the dirty bits.
I mean, when I went to high school and they taught Shakespeare, it was boring.
I could probably teach the Bible too. I'd find all the dirty bits. There's a lot of dirty bits in that. There's a lot of begetting in the book. Everybody's doing everybody else. Look at The Handmaid's Tale right now on TV. Why do they have handmaids? Because in the Bible it said, one said, oh God, I can't have any children, so okay, I'll let my husband knock up my sister or whatever, and that's fine. Well, today we call it surrogates. So, there's all that. Andy says, loves Shakespeare. He really understood human nature. Yep. But that's a religion for another time. And of course, there's always, organized religion is always looking for money. I think we've already touched upon that. Look at the Salvation Army. Oh my God, let's talk cults. Salvation Army, I have a hard one with this because, you always thought of the Salvation Army as doing really good for people who couldn't look after themselves. But in the last decade or so, maybe longer, all they want is money, claiming that the money is going to, help the destitute and the poor. And yes, it does. But did you know, if you go into one of those shelters that they have, like in downtown Toronto, the Salvation Army runs several shelters for homeless men, people who are probably drug addicted, alcoholics, whatever. They force them to have to listen to a small Bible service, a sermon about sins of their ways and the whole bit, and to repent and come unto Christ and all this stuff before they feed them. So, if you're hungry enough, you'll listen to anything and agree to it. But, that's not right. If you're going to do good work, if you're going to give to those that need to have things given to them, why are you making them pay a price for that? Isn't that being an Indian giver? Oops, politically incorrect. Isn't that being a First Nations giver? I don't know how that works anymore with that term. Salvation Army won't help gay homeless. Oh, no, they won't.
Actually, they claim they do.
But they don't. They don't.
They claim that they don't make any kind of discrimination.
But they do. And we know that for a fact. Brenda says, in my early 20s, I went to the Amana colonies to check out their own religion. We sat outside on wooden benches. We discussed what could happen that week, and as well as the bad. Thanking God for the good and pay from the bad to be better. No collection plate, no preacher screaming. It was kind of nice. Oh, okay. I have 2 cults, maybe 3 near me. Tracy, you are a woman that lives, I don't know where you live exactly, and you're just the most interesting person I have ever met. I can tell you that. Jules says, Salvation Army sounds like what they do when someone is trying to sell you as a timeshare. Yeah, well, think about it too. They call themselves the Salvation Army. What was I saying about war? Army. Okay, so now they've already aligned themselves with a military type of idea, and then it's salvation. What's salvation? Well, salvation accordingly is that you become a believer, this is what I always had trouble with the whole Christian thing when I was young. You had to accept Christ into your life. Hi, Christ, come on in. Didn't get it. You also had to believe in the Holy Trinity. That one always threw me. God the Father, Christ the Son, and the Holy Spirit. 3 in 1. I don't get it. I don't get it. And the whole thing that Christ was basically God in human form on earth. Make up your mind. Are you God or are you Christ? Are you the Father or are you the Son? And I don't know what you're doing with that whole Holy Ghost thing. I don't get it. Never did. Never ever had it explained to me in a way that I could comprehend. And I had many different explanations of it. Never got it. And then in the end result, I mean, I went to Sunday school too for years and years and years. The end result was when you ask questions like that, you just got told, well, you had to have faith. You just believed. That's all. Well, your rational mind says I will believe in something when I see the facts. But you're asking me to go beyond that. I don't know how to go beyond that. I don't think any human goes beyond that. And then when you get into this whole faith thing, then they make you drink the Kool-Aid. That's, is that faith or stupidity? I mean, I think if there is a God in the way that the organized religions might describe God, as this all-knowing father figure kind of a thing, then I think he understands what's going through my head. And that brings us back to why we're not an abomination as gay people. Because God created man, and yes, they said man, so God was sexist, in his own image. And God doesn't make mistakes. So how can I be an abomination? God created me in his image, and God doesn't make mistakes. So I am not a mistake. I'm just his more flamboyant side. I guess. I don't know.
Prezi says, I have Swedenborgens.
Swedenborgens and the...
I'll have to look up that.
Yeah, we'll have to look those ones up. I don't know what those are. If I don't believe in sinning, why do I need to be saved? Yeah. Oh, the stories I could tell you about the Salvation Army. I brought my current husband home from the men's corps where he worked his ass off sorting donations for $7 a week and a bed and 2 meals. Yep. And most of the gay people I know are way better people than the Christians known. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, not just gay people. Just because somebody doesn't go to church on Sunday doesn't make them an evil person. There's lots of really good people in the world who are not Christians, who do not believe in any organized thing. They just believe in mankind and humanity. Should say humanity, not mankind. That's sexist. But you know what I mean? Like they just do because out of the goodness of their heart. Some people, the popular conception now is karma. The idea that what goes around comes around. If you do good and try to do your best, it will come back to you. If you do evil and that, you'll get it in the end. I can understand karma. I get that one as a belief, but that's not an organized religion. Well, it might. The idea of karma may have come from a sort of a organized religion. I don't know if it comes from Buddhism or Hinduism. I don't know. One of the isms that are there, but who knows? I'm outspoken about sex. A lot of gay men I've known tell me, Tracy, keep it in the bedroom. I'm outspoken about sex, and a lot of gay men I've known tell me, Tracy, keep it in the bedroom. Well, what do you mean outspoken about sex? I know those things that you've written, which were very informative and enlightening, about, all the different sex labels and things like that. But gay men tell you to keep it in the bedroom? Not the gay people we know. In fact, there are times when I would like to know less, because sometimes it's way too much information. Kind of like going to a nude beach. Way too much information. There's something to be said about mystery. The not knowing, using your imagination instead. Oh, they don't want to hear about sex. Well, That's a religious thing, isn't it? Isn't it organized religions that teach us that our bodies, our sexual nature, maybe our animalistic nature, is something that it's sinful. It's something we should be ashamed of. Look at the number of people. Well, that's why there's gay conversion therapies. And who runs the gay conversion therapies? Religion. Organized religions run those. And you can't convert a gay person. It's not like you just give back the toaster oven and you're straight again. Never happened. I was never born straight. I was never straight. I don't know what straight is. So what else would I have in here? And then Christianity thinks it's the most important religion. Yeah, what about all the others? And that's why we have conflict. Why are the people that are the most afraid of people from another country or from another area, and I'm going to say like Muslims, for example. The people that are most afraid of Muslims are people who are Christians because they don't understand the Muslim faith and they think it's wrong. And if you don't understand something, you often fear it. And when you fear something, you can do one of two things: run and hide or try to annihilate it. And that's where the conflict comes from with it. I mean, essentially, Muslims don't believe, I don't believe that Muslims believe in things that are that much different from what good people believe in. Yeah, every group has their fanatics. The Muslims have their terrorists.
I mean,
we have the Catholics.
You get extreme sections of the Muslim faith where they actually are not open with their women and stuff like that.
No.
But I mean, I knew Muslims that were not fundamentalist Muslims, if you want to call it that their wives worked along with them. And
yeah,
I mean, a guy I worked with, his wife ran a pharmacy and he worked in technology. So
yeah, so I mean, but the problem is we see it on TV. So the media puts it up there. They show us the most extreme of things and they get everybody upset. Then the Christians, the right side of things, they all come in there and just put fire or put fuel onto that fire to get us all upset. So you walk down the street and you see someone who's all you can see is her beautiful eyes. They must spend a lot of eye makeup, but they're wearing a burqa or the whole, what do they call it, a hijab or whatever, and the whole thing. Well, yeah, in North American society, that is something that's a little different. But I think we're getting more used to it because we see more of it, at least in Canada. And, so someone walks around with a turban on their head. No biggie.
I have to see kids that walk around with big holes in their ears.
Yeah, really. Or the piercings or the tattoos, all that kind of stuff. We have a lot of things in our society that, you just have to, well, yes, fine, making that person happy. I mean, they're not holding me down, putting me in a burqa. They're not holding me down, wrapping a towel on my head like a turban. I shouldn't call it a towel, it's a turban. They're not making that. They're not doing anything to me. They're just living their life. And I think most of them are pretty happy to let you just live your life too. So, but this is where all these things come from. And that's another thing about organized religion. Organized religion creates and perpetuates discrimination. Because if you don't believe in this, and if you don't believe in that, according to that group, then you're less than they are. So there you go. So, I mean, the reason this topic came up this week is because somebody last week said they wanted to hear about sort of like our experiences with religion as being gay men. Well, I can sum it up. Gay men do have spirituality. Gay men do have organized religion. There are Protestant churches, actually I think they're non-denominational, called, the biggest one's called the MCC, Metropolitan Community Church. It's been around for years and years and years. It's in the United States, it's in Canada. We have friends that belong to the MCC, and basically it's more spirituality than anything else, and it gives people that from the LGBT community a place to go where they're among other people of the same community, but where they all have a a need for spirituality and that kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that. But these same friends of ours never force their religion down our throats, ever, with it, because that's just the nature of their church. They don't do that. And there are other churches out there too that have nothing to do with LGBTQ stuff that do the same thing. They don't force it down your throat. Like, for example, the United Church welcomes everybody. Probably out of all of the churches of Canada, the United Church is probably one of the most tolerant of them. So, not all organized religions are as bad as other organized religions. But then why do I need to have my religion organized? Why can't I just do what I want to do in my own little way? I don't know. The heart falls in love with a person, not their religion, their financial portfolio, or sexual orientation. Love is love between two people, no matter what others think. Yeah, exactly. So why do churches get so down on gay people? And lately, some of them become ambiguous. There's a couple of people we know who are about to get married, same-sex marriage, and they're being married in the Anglican Church, which they had a fight to have that done. One of them is the choir master for the church. They are good members, faithful members of this particular church, and their minister can't marry them because the upper echelons say you can't. And it came to a vote that involved, it's an Anglican church, so they have bishops in there too. Like I said, the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church are just that close to each other. And basically, I think their congregation sort of fought for them because they're well known in their church and well liked, obviously, and the whole bit, and thought it was very unfair. And they are going to be married in their church because basically some of the upper echelons that agreed that they should be doing this figured out a loophole or something. From what we understand, we've only heard this in bits and pieces. So yeah, great for them. Personally, I wouldn't have put up the fight. I didn't put up the fight in my own church. It wasn't that important to me that I be married in a church because I don't consider marriage a religious union. Okay? It's a law. It's a civil thing. Okay? It's so we got married in a golf course banquet hall. We had a Unitarian minister. She said the words. We got married. We have a piece of paper. We're legal. There we go. And if I get rid of him tomorrow, or he tries to divorce me tomorrow, I'm taking him for everything he's got.
Bootsy says, the United Methodist Church in America is heading for an institutional split, with one side allowing LGBT preachers and the other side continuing the view of homosexuality as a contrary to political teaching.
Biblical teaching. But it's not.
Biblical.
It's not. There are scholars out there on both sides of the fence, like LGBTQ supporters and members of the community and non-members of the community, who both have said there is nothing in the Bible that goes against same-sex marriage. It's all been taken out of context. It's all been reinterpreted by whatever power to be to play it in their way and the whole bit. So, no. I mean, just screw religion. It's as simple as that. Spirituality?
That's why a lot of LGBTQ or whatever, a lot of LGBT people have left churches.
Yeah.
They've stopped going to churches because of they're not being supported.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, so we've done a religion to death here and whatnot. So I hope you found this.
Actually, it's been I was a little afraid of doing this topic today, but actually it seems to be okay.
Well, I think the bottom line comes, and I started this off with a discussion. I am not trying to force my beliefs down anybody else's throat, and I trust that nobody else is going to try in this forum to force their beliefs down my throat. Yes, I have very strong opinions about it, But if you notice, I have never said, at least I'm pretty sure I didn't say throughout this, you have to believe what I believe in. I just said what I believe in, what our experiences have been, and simple as that. And I'm not trying to convert anybody here to my way of thinking, because I could be like the atheist in the casket, all dressed up, nowhere to go. Who knows? Out of all of that. But I'm not trying to force anybody into believing that. And Roy says, we have 5 grandchildren. They tell us that none of their friends are religious, mostly because of hypocrisy. Yeah, and the church is full of hypocrisy. That's the thing.
Well, I've known a lot of people over the years that have left, not just gay lesbian people, but a lot of straight people that I've talked to that said that they went to church when they were kids and they've stopped going to church because they don't believe in all the stuff that they say in there.
Well, it's hard to break away from what your family did, because that's how I was introduced to church. I didn't know a time when I was younger when you didn't go to church. You just went because my mother said we had to. And the only reason I think my mother went to church was guilt that her mother instilled in her, and my mother tried to instill it, and she did a good job into her children. Well, my sister doesn't darken the doors of a church. I don't darken the doors of a church now. And my brother, not really sure what he does, because he married a Catholic, but I'm thinking that they've kind of left the Catholic Church and gone to a more evangelistic kind of thing, but we don't know because I don't talk to my brother. So I don't know what they're up to. But, as children, we get indoctrinated, and the Catholic Church especially loves to get the kids. That's why they have their own school system here in Canada. That's why they have their first communion. They all dress up in their little white dresses and little things and suits and the whole bit. They get them young. Parisi has 2 gay-friendly churches near her. Yeah, the word gay-friendly or gay-positive or safe space, that's thrown around by a lot of organizations these days for a variety of reasons. Now, I'm not saying that the 2 churches you're talking about are not gay-friendly or they have ulterior motives. I would like to think they don't, that they're doing it because they want LGBT people to feel comfortable and give them a place where they can go and do their form of spirituality. But I know there's a lot of places that talk about being gay positive, gay friendly, and they're only doing it because they want the gay friendly dollar too. And churches need money to run as well. My mom always told us, Jules says, that God is love. She said we can spend our lives understanding love and how to live in a loving way. Yeah. Priest says, I'm waiting for Donnie and Marie Osmond to leave Mormonism. Well, yeah, that'll never happen. But whatever. Okay, so, we're way over time today for this. So anyways, I don't know, anybody got a suggestion for what we can talk about, what a topic of interest might be for next week? I had thought of something and it went out of my head. Maybe it'll come to me later in the week. Well, if you have any suggestions, just write them in the comments below and we'll see. Brenda says, I found out the hard way being admitted to the hospital not to leave the questionnaire blank when asked religion. They get very adamant about it. Oh, really?
Actually, they used to here, but they don't anymore.
No.
They used to, because they want to send a clergy person up to see you, right, type of thing.
Okay.
But they don't do that here anymore.
Bye, Cindy.
Now, no religion is an option, so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's nice that they offer you that option, but a lot of the ones that come around and visit, at least like when Mom gets visited in the nursing home by, the pastoral person there, they're very, they might be associated with a certain religious group.
Brenda was saying now that if you go to the hospital in wherever she is in the U.S., I assume, that they get really uptight if you don't want to say what religion you are.
Well, she says about 80% of the hospitals here in Central Florida are the Seventh-day Adventists. Yeah. Okay, when we were talking about cults earlier, there's possibly one. But anyways, we could go on for days about all of this, and I don't know about you people, but it's din-din's time. So next week, I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but we'll find something. Just quickie here, nothing else to really tell you. Yeah, none of the rest of the stuff is important. Reformed Church of the Ascension. Okay. So anyways, we're going to say goodbye. So we'll see you guys next week with another topic of some sort to talk about. Okay, thanks for joining
Yeah,
in,
thanks a lot.
and we'll see you later. Have a good week. Bye, all.
Bye-bye.